That's
I'm
totally
gonna
fine.
try not to be my awkward self.
Oh,
Like,
no, please, please, please be as awkward as you wish. Then,
I was
then
like,
I don't
I'm
feel
gonna
bad.
try to be like a normal person
Yeah, let's
and not all like
let's fool the let's fool
flustered,
the online community into thinking that we're normal. Um,
functional human being
yeah,
here that doesn't talk to myself all day.
I'm a mother. I teach people.
Yeah.
Um, Welcome to my non-existent podcast. This is just, I just wanted to do some fun stuff for the release of the book. And I was so impressed and so excited about the job that you did on the narration. We will talk about that in detail later because I would like to gush.
Cool.
Um, but what I want to start with, the stuff that probably for you doesn't feel super interesting, but I know my readers really like just those normal details. You work under two different names.
Mhm.
So if you don't mind, tell us both the names. So if readers want to look up your stuff, they can look up either one and
Yeah.
why they're different, if you don't mind explaining that. But then just like tell us who you are. Like, what's your normal day look like? Like, is this your full-time job? I assume it is. And also, if you have any fascinating or unexpected interests that will just make people go, oh my Lord, she's amazing. Please tell us about
Um,
you, Diana. Did I get it?
yes, you got it. Yes, my name is Diana Bustelo, and my pseudonym is Marcella Black. And I guess, just I decided to keep the two different names because my Marcella Black is more for my romance and,
Mhm.
spicier content, and my Diana Bustelo is more, I do kids books and I do, just nonfiction and other kinds of stuff. And I
Mhm.
just, kind of wanted to keep the two lives separate, so to speak. Um, so yeah, and so I don't know anything. My daughter says I have a lot of mom lore. There's a lot of stuff about me. I don't know where to start, but I
What does
guess
a normal day look like for you? I mean, this is your full-time job, is that right?
this is my full-time job. Yes, I live here in Austin. I have three kids, and I guess my day is, I get up, I have the breakfast, I see the kids off, I do a little bit of movement, whether it be yoga or bike or something like that, and then my warm-ups, get in here a couple hours, break, do another couple hours, and then it's time to, pick up the kids and do all the things, and
Mhm. So
hopefully not have to
warm-ups.
go back in the booth in the evening, but a lot of times you have to go back and, clean up stuff or do stuff that I didn't get to earlier in the day. But yeah.
So tell me, because there's two terms you use there that I think some people might not appreciate what's involved. You talked about warm-ups. You're talking about vocal warm-ups.
Oh, yeah, yeah, vocal warm-ups, yes, yes.
So is that, I used to sing, I don't anymore, but
Hmm.
are you talking about things that are to smooth your voice and make your full range? Like how, what is that actually? Because some people won't have had any contact with that. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I mean all of those things. It's well, I mean in the morning sometimes your voice is just kind of like, just getting started. So it's just a way to loosen things up and uh move your range around, open up, your throat and relax your jaw, all those kinds of
I think I have
it's
lost
just like a
you.
set of like 10,
Oh, there we
warm-ups
go.
or so. Oh,
No, I'm hopeful because I'm
I'm
recording
back.
this on the cloud. So I'm hopeful that I think my husband has forgotten that he wasn't supposed to be streaming right now, and I think that he is still talking to somebody, and I think that's what's causing us hiccups here. So I'm just gonna you all get to see. Speaking of real life,
Yeah, real life, real,
I'm
real.
gonna here's me calling my husband to tell him off, and now he's not gonna answer.
All right, this is
Um,
like
yeah,
inside
it's like
scoop.
behind the scenes. Yeah, he's not. Okay. Hopefully he just got the reminder from seeing my number pop up. I'm hopeful that the cloud
You
is going to
you
get it
can't talk
anyway.
telepathically like
Yeah.
Bren and Donovan.
We are very bonded, but not quite that much.
Turn off the
Um,
streaming.
yeah, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Um, I did catch you. I just want to dial back.
Uh-huh.
Open
Yes.
throat, you were talking about all of that. So when you're warming up for
Uh-huh.
audio narration, this is, oh, and are you doing other voices? Like, do you, are you using, and when you do, can you, because that's something that's interesting to me. Do you
Mhm.
have to like do a recording of yourself making that voice so you can go back and match it? Or how do you manage that process?
Well, I guess we can just dive into, the character development that you were asking about earlier. But, when you see a character, when you read the story and you see the character, and ideas start to come to your head about, oh, this one's a jovial kind, this one's, laid back kind, or this one's very stern, or this one's super kind. Whatever it is that comes up, the descriptions in the text that kind of, color the people
Hmm.
in the story, like for example Bren's squad mates and whatnot.
Hmm.
And so these ideas start kind of percolating in your head, and I kind of have a good idea of what they're going to sound like. I might play around before getting in the booth, like Oros or whatever. I'll play around with that. um but and then the script, I like to have my script already uh prepared, and I know who's in the chapters that I'm gonna do today, and who I'm gonna come up with, because it's not always the same characters in these.
Hmm.
And so as I'm recording, I might stop and grab a chunk of that person speaking, and then I'll cut it and save it on another file. So like I have files of Bren or Diane, or all the different people, so that if I'm going the next day and I have that same character again, and I just need a kind of quick, oh, what was the feeling on that one, I can just hear it again. A lot of times the different characters for me fall in a physical place for me.
Hmm. In
So
your
like
voice, you mean?
in my face, in my expression, sometimes I do a hand gesture and it gets me to that person, or you
Oh,
know
wow.
like I might move my mouth in a certain way, or something. And so I think there's like a physical memory
Mm,
also, like I conjure that person and I'm like, oh, that's that person that's like this, you know
yeah. Muscle memory.
if that makes
Yeah.
any sense. Muscle memory, yeah, yes.
No, it totally does. So how did you get into audio narration? Because I want to come back to your preparation because I find that part fascinating. I'm sure my readers will as well, but I'm going to ask you some questions just for me.
Okay.
But how did you get into this? Like, how did this first begin for you?
Well, honestly, I think I've always done this since I was a kid. I've always like made characters and done weird voices, and I grew up in Houston, and there were people from all over the world, and I would come home and I would, just talk in different accents. And I thought everybody did that. So,
Yeah.
my mom, my aunt, they'd be like, "Oh, ha ha ha, but I just heard things and did things.
Hmm.
And so I've always kind of had an affinity. I also am bilingual, so I speak Spanish, and I'm Puerto Rican and Mexican, so I
Wow.
picked up the different types of Spanish. So I speak this
Hmm.
way, this way, this way, this way. So I think there was always kind of like an attunement to nuance in language.
Mm.
Um, but I didn't study that. I studied physical therapy. I I went to college. That's why I say my sister, my daughter says I have a lot of mom lore, but I my undergrad was psychology, and then I studied physical therapy. Um, I'm kind of a science nerd too. Uh, but and I did that until my kids were born. But when my youngest started to go into kindergarten, I was like, well, do I want to go back to physical therapy? And honestly, I kind of wanted to explore this desire that I had since I was little, excuse me, of playing with my voice and being a character, or being on different animated projects, or doing audiobooks, telling stories. And I had no idea how to get there. I was like, at first it just, I kind of was almost afraid to even say it out loud, like but the cool thing is, I have to say, my older brother, who I adore, I I told him one day, I was like, I am going to do audiobook narration and voiceover, and this is what I want to do. And he looks at me and he's like, yeah, that checks. He's like, yeah,
Hey, bro.
that checks. Okay, that makes total sense. Even though most people would be like, how in the world do you go from here to here? But, people are multifaceted. People have
Hmm.
different, interests, and I've been lucky enough to explore lots of different things. I also was a dance teacher because I love dancing. But
Oh, wow. There is mom lore here.
there
We
is
can do a
lots of
whole
mom
other
lore.
interview.
But yes, how did I get into audiobook narration? I decided that's what I wanted to do, and yeah, I just slowly found coaches here, and I live here in Austin, coaches here in Austin, and then reaching out and building on that, and finding this narrating community that gave me so much good advice and mentors, and yeah.
Oh, great. So did you start in sort of the indie world, or were you like immediately in the quote unquote professional? I fully know and believe that anybody who's working with indie authors and indie publishing is doing the work professionally, but there's I guess maybe a longer road. I'm not sure. If you're trying to get into, commercials on radio or TV or something like that. Like, did you just start right into like ACX type environment, which is sorry for anybody listening, the back end of Audible, which indie authors can use to find narrators and narrators can find projects. How did you like what was your first one? How did you get in?
So I did start in voiceover, and I had an agent, and I did commercial and some podcasts and a little bit of animation and whatnot. And then I started doing my samples for audiobook narration, and I feel like I did my first one or two were on ACX. My
Hmm.
first couple ones were on ACX, thankfully, because honestly, the first couple ones you're learning. Like I
Yeah.
was just learning the software.
Yeah.
This is not something, yeah. So and they were great, and the people I worked with were great and everything. But I just started working with publishers and producers, and I think that's where I've done most of my work. I have worked with a couple of indie authors. It's something that I would like to do more of, honestly. I just uh, I need to work on that. I'm less savvy about working with indie authors. I think it's
I think
just
in
sometimes.
any, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no.
I think in any corner of publishing, it's easier to work with a publisher just from the perspective of there's a team, there's a process, like there's no doubt, especially if you've come from, the professional voiceover and stuff. I have no doubt that working with the publishers is easier. But yeah, those of us who, I mean, obviously we did this project through Simon and Schuster, so it wasn't for you, it wasn't an indie project. For me, it started that way. Um, and I'd actually intended to produce it myself until I started getting um, contacts from publishers. So yeah, I'm really, really glad that we went with the team that we did because they found you. Because I would never, I don't think I would ever have come across you. I am admittedly not an audiobook listener, although you guys did such a great job on my books. Now I'm like, ooh, what other books? What other books out there sound super cool?
That's
So
awesome.
it may become a bigger part of my world. But yeah, I don't know, because I know that you do this a lot and this is your whole job. So I
Hmm.
don't know if you remember much about the actual process of getting hooked into the Flameborne project with Simon and Schuster. For me, just coming because this was the second series I'd had that was picked up for audio narration, but the first series was with Podium, and their process is a little bit different.
Okay.
But for me, it's pretty easy on my end because I give them the manuscript, they give me a questionnaire, so I give them a whole bunch of information about different characters and the world and any trigger problems or
Right.
anything like that, and then they just send me samples, and they say, hey, here's a swath of narrators that we think would work for your characters. And I have to tell you, when they sent me I think there was five or six that they sent me samples for. And they said, hopefully there's more than one. And if there is, like, prioritize them. Who would you like first? And then we can go to the others if,
Hmm.
if that one's not available. But I'm not kidding. When I hit your sample, I was like, that one, please, her. I was extremely unprofessional in the way that I went back to them, but I was like, if you have to do somebody else, you could do this one. But
Oh.
really, really wanted, because there's, I don't know, maybe it's because I don't do audiobooks very often. For me, I've always been very picky about acting. And like on a TV show or a movie, if someone doesn't feel real, if I remember that they're
Mm-hmm.
acting, then it kills it for me. And
Hmm.
with audiobooks, what I've observed is a lot of
Hmm.
and I see this in TV too, people have to get into a character. It takes some time to sort of rest
Yeah.
into a character.
Yeah.
A lot of audiobooks, it feels like narrators are punching into it, trying to get
Hmm.
either going too quickly or hitting too hard. And your voice just had this wonderful, natural tone and pace and the way, but also suited like the tone of your voice suited Bren in my, so, there's a double whammy there. So for me, that was what happened on my end. I just went, please get her. And then they did. And I was like, yay. Do you remember how that came together for you? And also, you mentioned the prep. You have your manuscript or your script. Can you also give us a little, be it for this project or just in general, what you actually do with the manuscript when you get it and you're like, I'm going to do this project? How do you do that preparation?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much. That is so kind. I'm flattered and thank you. I love it when the authors are happy with the work, because that to me that's like the ultimate compliment. That's who, I don't know. It came for you, you had this baby and it's yours,
Yes.
and for you to say, you enjoyed it, I that's huge to me.
Oh,
Um and yeah, I forgot what you were gonna, what was the
oh,
question?
so do you remember how you
Oh,
kind of came into this project? And
yeah.
then what's your sort of preparation for that?
Yes, so I did get an email, and this happens often too. It's like you get an email, are you available? Are you interested? And then they'll send a link to the book, or sometimes they send the manuscript and let us know in 24 hours or a couple of days, whatever the time limit is. And this came through, and I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, this sounds great. This is exactly up my alley. I really want to do this. It's fantastic. And then they told me, send us some similar links or something that would kind of relate to this. And I can't remember which samples I sent because I haven't done a dragon romantasy actually. Yeah, I think
I
this may.
don't know. I honestly don't remember which book it was. I just remember as soon as I heard you start talking, I was like, that's her. Like your voice and the way
Hmm.
the way that you spoke, the whole thing just worked. Sorry. Please continue. So they
I'm so
sent
happy.
so you
No,
sent them the samples to that they would send to me.
yes. So they're like, just let us know a couple samples that we can use. So you send the link, um, and oftentimes sometimes you hear back, sometimes you don't hear back. Um, yeah. So I heard back, and they're like, we're good to go, and I was like, are you kidding? I was like, yes. So, yeah, so then we get to work. And as far as the preparation, so when we get the manuscript, we usually read through it. And I have to say, for your books in particular, I'm so happy we got both because I got both around
Mm,
the same time.
yep.
And I'm so glad because, and I actually had the time to read both of them because so much of what Bren is going through in the first one is explained by the second one, right?
Yes. Yep.
So I was so glad. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I finished that second one because now I know why she did this in the first one.
Hmm.
And it better informs the acting, it better informs the state of mind of the character and the narration when you go into it at first. So, yeah, so we'll read the book. I usually break it down through chapters and kind of know how long they are, who the characters that are in there, the relationship to each other, and then a separate file with like about the different characters. So that I mean, I like to do a lot of stuff up front so that
Hmm.
when it's time to get in the booth, I just get in, I know who's talking, I know what they're like. There's always surprises come up. I'm always like, oh, oh, that's who that is. Okay, we're gonna roll with that. That's who it is now because it just kind of evolved. But actually, those are usually really happy accidents when that
Mm.
happens. Sometimes the planning goes out the window and you're like, no, this doesn't work. We're gonna do this.
I'm
Um,
glad it's not just me.
and in the case of the Flameborne, because it is a duet, or even with dual romance,
Mhm.
oftentimes they'll connect us with the co-narrator, and we'll send samples to each other, like this is what Diane sounds like, characters we have in common, so
Mhm.
that we can keep some consistency throughout the book for the listeners. And we do our best. I mean, I don't have a male voice, so I can't sound exactly like his
Mhm.
Diane,
He did an
but we can
incredible
have,
DN, I have to say. That was when I talked to him about yesterday. I'm like, I
yeah.
literally my jaw dropped the first time I heard him read her because I was like, you sound like a mature woman. I was because he's so gruff in his normal tone. His normal tone is very, very close to Donovan. Like that's just his voice. And when yeah, that blew my mind when he did that. Of
Yep.
course, he was all puffed up when I talked to him. He was like, "Oh, cool!" Like he likes it when people get excited. But yeah,
Yeah.
cool. So I'm going to make this easy for you. I'm going to say you aren't allowed to answer my books to this question.
Okay.
But what is your favorite book that you've narrated, and what
Oh,
is the one you're the most proud of?
oh. No.
Okay, you
This is
don't
so
have to
hard.
pick one,
Oh.
but I'd love to
Ah.
hear because I think anybody who does anything creative, we all love all the things we do. But
Yes.
usually there's a heart resonance sometimes with a material or a time when you feel like you just nailed it. Now, I would like to say I feel like you just nailed Bren. She's not an easy character. She would be very easy to play whiny, and some people read her that way, and I understand why. So for me, I would say you absolutely nailed that. But I'm guessing that for you, because you've done a lot of books, are there any standouts that you were like either I really connected with this character, or I felt like I did a really good job, like I felt like I nailed this one. Like, are there any projects that stand out for you?
That's not fair. It's like you have your bookshelf and you're like, which is your favorite?
Yes, that's
Ah,
true.
okay. Well,
Okay, then
no. It's
are there qualities of characters or stories that you really love to perform?
yes. I love doing my younger books. I do a couple middle grade. I just recently did one, 5 days at the Hotel Adams, which is super cute, and it hasn't come out yet, but like Lightning in Her Hands that I did under Marcella Black, I really love. I think that might have been the sample I gave you. It's a witchy Latina witchy sisters, and it's very complicated. The characters are complicated. There's lots of side characters. I love stories where where yes, there's the romance and there's that aspect, but they have all these side characters or
Mhm.
friends. Like, I just love those scenes with friends, especially when they're like silly or just the
Mhm.
real back and forth. That just lights me up. I love those kinds of scenes. But as far as there have been many books that have impacted me, but there was one book that I have to tell you the story. There's one book that I read during COVID, and I was doing already my voiceover training and all that kind of stuff. And I was reading it and I was like, I would love to narrate this book. Like, this is the I could do this book and I want to do this book and I love this book. And I just thought that, and I was like, wow, it was just it's very clear. The moment, even the day that I said it, it's so clear in my mind, which is weird because that's a weird thing to remember. And then cut to like 2024, I get an email from my co-narrator, Tor Tom, and he's like, "Hey, there's this author that is wondering if you would like to narrate her book." And it was that book.
Oh,
And I
that's
kid you not,
fantastic.
it was Roxy Noir's The Hookup Equation. And I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me? Like, she found me? How?" First of all, like you said, it's hard to find, narrators. Like, how did she
Yep.
find me? And what luck. And it just felt really full circle at
Yep.
that moment. And of course, I had already read it and I reread it and I, did all the characters and stuff, which I was thrilled to do. It was such a fun book. It's fun, and I like books that also have depth to them,
Mhm.
like the Flameborne books and all that. They have depth, and that you can sink your teeth into what's going on with them, and I just felt so blessed.
And
And
that's
I don't
awesome.
know, like it was kind of magical. It's like there's magic out there. It's just like,
I
yeah, it's
love
just
stories like that. I don't believe there's any coincidence in this world. Um, so just rolling into that with my book. Like I said, I was so thrilled by your performance of Bren. I was aware going in that she is not a character for everybody, and also that she would be misunderstood because you're right, her true brokenness isn't revealed until the second book, and a lot of people, because they read that first scene where she's betrayed by Ruin, they just assume that that's what she's carrying, that it's a breakup with a guy who was her lover, and she's heartbroken over it, and that's where the
yep.
pain comes from. And I've had readers comment on my social media being like, oh, I just couldn't read this one because she's just so whiny. And I'm thinking, tell me you didn't read book two without telling me you didn't read book two. But
Right.
you know what? Not every book is for every person. So I don't take that personally. But going into this, it was so crucial for her to be portrayed in a way that was sympathetic, I guess is probably the right word, where she didn't sound like a child. She didn't sound like a little kid sort of stamping their feet and woe is me. That she had a true fear and a true brokenness. I am also very, very glad that you got to read the second book before you
Yes.
voiced it.
Yes.
But I want to thank you because the thing that struck for me, normally when I say normally, I've only done one other series, but I listen to the book before it goes out. So I know how it's coming across, and because readers will talk to me about specific scenes and stuff like that. And I fell into your depiction of Bren. Like she sounds with you working through her, very, very similar to what I hear in my head, which has never happened. Um, and I don't expect it to happen. So that was like one of those happy moments of like, oh my gosh, she got it. You really do a beautiful job. And that shows, I believe, that shows a very clear emotional awareness in you because you can't depict authentic emotion without having some awareness of your own and other people's and sort of some reflection
Mhm.
on that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that part of it was hugely satisfying for me as the author to read because I was like, oh, she gets it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's this, oh,
Hmm.
I got you. Like we're on the same
Hmm.
page.
Hmm.
And that really was meaningful for me to know that she's out there sounding like herself is a huge thing. It's really
Yeah.
big for me. And I have to say the response to the audio has been amazing for both you and Troy, who I keep calling Donovan, which is really bad. Um, it's because his last name is Duran and it's so close. I keep tripping on it. But
Yeah.
so I'm just curious. I don't know if you remember, other than having read both books, which is very impressive, by the way. Was there anything that
Speed
you
reader.
did? Yeah, yeah. Was there anything you did sort of specific to the preparation for her, or was it more just because you were able to immerse in the story, you kind of got it?
Yeah. Um, I'm so glad. I try to approach a book being as true to the author's word as possible, being as true to the original intention by the author, right? Um, so when I'm reading, I'm also trying to, kind of read, why did the author put that in there? Why those words? Why those words specifically? Why in that way? Why, so as I'm reading, I'm kind of trying to pick up, oh, she wants to highlight this, or she wants to express this, or so I don't have a set way of preparing for that. It just kind of happens as I go. Sometimes if I read it and I see some interesting choices of words or something, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna underline that because that's important for whatever reason. Or um, but as far as Bren, she was tricky to play, but um, once you understand, like I said, where she's coming from, the choices that she makes and the reason why she acts the way she does make a lot of sense. And I did. She is young, but I didn't want her to be infantile.
Hmm.
So I wanted to be fair to her because even though she's broken and super vulnerable and confused and in a state of, you know, vulnerable in the
Hmm.
beginning, she is going to be the protagonist for these books. And
Yeah.
she is going to be the badass Fury Knight that we all want to see, right?
Yep.
Like, I keep that in mind. The listeners want this. Like, they
Hmm.
want her to be, you know, badass.
Hmm.
So I can't make her like a weenie, weenie person from the
Thank
like
you for that.
yeah, no, she has it in her. It is
Yeah.
in her. But it is at the moment in pieces.
Yes.
So that's kind of where I came from with Bren and yeah.
Perfect. That's exactly how you use probably more succinct words than I would have, bless you. But that is exactly what I would, that's exactly right. She's got it in her, but it's broken right now. And she's learning how to fit those pieces back together. And he's going to help her, and Connie's going to help her. And yeah, that's
And and
perfect.
as the way you wrote it and the way life is, she's going to have setbacks. And
Hmm.
she's going to go back to doing this and then back and forth and it's not a progression, growth isn't a straight line. It's
Yeah.
messy and it's up and down and you have to allow for your character to be strong one moment and then back to this place because that's real. That's
Yeah.
real. And
I
yeah.
know that's not always satisfying for readers to read, but it's an intentional choice for me. I mean, obviously we're in fantasy worlds, not everything is realistic. But I do want emotionally, I want my characters to have a journey that people can relate to.
Hmm.
So, and so that's what's been really touching for me, the choices that you made with her, and then the readers that are coming and really immersing with her are feeling pieces of themselves, even if they haven't been through something that extreme. They're recognizing their own vulnerabilities and insecurity. And I mean, I was writing my own vulnerabilities and insecurities. I haven't been through the same experiences she's been through, but I've been broken that way. And the up and down, like you say, some days you're feeling your confidence and your strength and you're making forward steps. And other days your brain's taking you right back to where you were when you were 12 years old. You can't,
Yep.
for me, that feels very human. And I want readers and listeners to see themselves in that. But
Yeah.
I do recognize this is why not everybody likes to read my books because they're not always escape. I always warn people, they're like, "Oh, what do you write?"
But
I'm like,
hang in
"Well,
there
it is
because it
romance."
is.
What's
Hang
that?
in there because it is. And I have to say, I also this total side note, side quest.
Please.
Um, I loved getting to narrate her trials,
Oh,
and
good.
her like well, I can't do any spoilers, but the paces that she was put through. I mean, I was just like, dude, this is gold right here. It's funny.
Well, thank
Anyways.
you. Yeah, I liked that part too. And I mean, I was always the girl who was more comfortable with guys growing up, mainly because they tended to be more upfront. Girls, particularly young, can be a little bit two-faced and stuff. And I used to struggle because I was a very candid person. So when I was younger, I managed the boys' basketball team and stuff like that. I was accustomed to being in a circle where there was a lot of guys, but then I also had aspects of my life where it was only girls, and so I've kind of lived in both of those scenarios. So I love the environment she's in. I love the interactions she gets with her brothers and stuff, particularly once she starts to trust them.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I just felt like it did feel like listening to the story, it felt like you understood her and you were portraying her in a way that would help other people understand her as well, which is very, very meaningful for me. So thank you. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
doing
Thank
that.
you for letting me do
Um,
it.
it's funny. I put this out to my readers that I was going to get to talk to you, and the same question kept coming up. And in fairness, it's a question that I have always wanted to ask as well. The When you step into audiobook narration and particularly romance,
Mhm.
you are put in some scenarios and having to read some material that most of us will never say out loud.
Right.
Um, and so I'm just going to give you why this question is fascinating for me.
Okay.
I wrote the very first ever fantasy book I wrote was back in 2021. Um, and it was on a serial platform. It was doing well. I got asked to come onto a podcast and read the scene where the female lead sees the male lead for the first time. And there's a description of him. He's this clan leader, animal shifter, big, rugged man. And she's describing him. And I had forgotten, because it had at that point been a little while since I'd written it. All I was reading was a physical description, like how she thought about what she saw. But his chest had been oiled. It was like a clan ritual thing that she was seeing. And I burst out laughing, just describing his chest and how it had been oiled. I burst out laughing, and it took me minutes to finish reading the scene. I was like a 10-year-old kid, just like giggling. I could not settle into it at all. And that was the day that I learned that I cannot read. I mean, this wasn't even spicy material. This was just
Right.
like, isn't he hot kind of material? You know what I mean? So I'm curious, was that experience for you, whenever it was the first time that you went into, because some of these scenes are pretty intense. I'm sure that you've done some as Marcella Black. Was it uncomfortable when you first started? Was it like how did you get in? You don't have to talk about the material itself, but just that process, like was it ever
You want me to
embarrassing for
describe
you?
things in
Yeah.
depth?
So, now let me tell you. No. Um, yeah, I'm just curious, did you ever hit that kind of barrier yourself? And also, how did you prepare when you were starting to get into that kind of material?
Um, I I didn't. I don't. Sometimes I'll read something and I'm just laughing out loud. I'm like, did they actually say, like, what is this? Like, sometimes I do. And, that's what the preparing is for, so that you're
Yeah.
not on the mic and being like, what? Um, yeah. So, I can get like my thoughts about it out or whatever. I'm like, okay, this is nuts or whatever, or it's great or whatever it is. And but when I come into the booth, I, I don't feel embarrassed or awkward about it because I'm kind of coming in like, sex is part of the human experience. And here
Mhm.
I am, I'm telling a story about this, character. It could be human, it could be not human.
Yeah.
This
I mean, just about anything
this
these
this
days.
character that has human feelings, right? And so so I just try to set myself aside, like, all my thoughts or whatever, and I'm coming at it from this character is feeling this, and they
Mm,
feel this way about this. So
mhm.
yeah, that guy is hot, and they think, yeah, the oiled
Yeah, he is.
chest. Oh yeah, and and actually, I think romance scenes are more awkward when you just kind of half-ass it, when you're kind of like, oh,
Mm,
you know,
yeah. Can
um,
definitely deliver better when you do it with your whole
yeah, you
chest.
just freaking commit. Like
Yeah.
I just got okay, I'm gonna commit. This is gonna be outstanding. Like
Yeah.
we're just gonna get into it.
Yes, we are. And you did.
Yeah,
I have to say, you did a fantastic job. That was
you
one
have
thing
to.
that my very first series that got adapted into audio. I actually asked Podium if I could get auditions with love scenes because I think it's such an easy arena to just completely derail a story, right? If they're not fully committed. And I have to say, their narrators did them proud. I was like, "Whoa, yeah, okay, you can do
Yep.
that part. That's great." Um,
Yeah. When I do
um,
this, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, no. Go ahead. I want to hear. Like,
No,
how has that been for you?
I mean, when I do a romance scene, I do not necessarily take more time, but I think about it a little bit more because you you want to be true to the story and have it feel very real and present, but there's like you could cross the line into where it's like an
Yeah,
ick thing. Like
yeah.
I kind of I just never want to err on the side of like a listener being like like we're right there in there, we're right there in your ears.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yes, you
So
are.
it is. it is scenes that need to be handled with a little bit more finesse. But I also, it's similar to scenes like in a thriller or a suspense that also need to be, there's
Hmm.
scenes that it's a lot of tension building. So it's
Yeah.
about building that moment. And, not all the sex scenes, obviously, but, it's a lot more about the tension and, so I sometimes kind of approach it like a suspense scene too, kind of
Mm,
thinking
that's
about,
interesting.
yeah, I don't know.
No, I can totally see the correlations there. With that whole thing in mind and tension as well, suspense as well. Is there anything that you seek? So as an author, hearing people read your words is like highlighting your flaws, right? The number of times I learned by listening that I had my characters blink, particularly in book one. I was like, oh my, I've literally added that word to my list of seek and destroy on my editing
Oh,
process because I'm
okay.
hearing you and Troy both go, she blinked, I blinked, he blinked, I blinked, I blinked, she blinked. It was just over and over again. I
Interesting.
was like, oh no.
Interesting.
There's a unique thing that happens hearing words versus reading them. Your brain
Hmm.
processes them differently.
Hmm.
I'm curious because you've now been in so many books, is there any things that you see that you think either character wise or in writing that we could do better? Like, is there any tips you can give me?
Well, I'm not a writer. And I appreciate the work that y'all do. It's I can't imagine like all the work and the rework that you guys go through to write your stories and to make your books. So I don't know if I have yeah, I just appreciate
Is
the
there
work,
any
but
common flaws that you see when
I
you're reading that you're like, oh, that could be done? They don't need to do that all the time. Or like, is there anything that sort of pops up and makes things awkward to say?
yeah, I think a lot of times when there's dialogue that's I do not know, or things like that. No one says I do not know, or
Yeah.
I mean, I guess certain characters would say I do not know, but where it just sounds like if the author just says these things out loud, especially in dialogue, if they
Yeah.
talk to yourself and say it out loud, and if it sounds like something that character or someone would say, then great. But if it's something that's just grammatically that's the way it's supposed to say, then when you say it out loud, it's clunky, and
Mm-hmm.
it is our job to make it sound as casual as possible. But but it is sometimes we come across these things. I'm like, why? Or sometimes a lot of he said, she said, he said,
Yes.
she said, she said, he said, she said. Kind of like that I blinked, and it's like she swallowed,
Yes. No, I'm also
cleared
thinking
her,
of that
whatever
one.
it is, and it's like, well, oh, what? There was one I kept reading over and over again in many books, and I was like, biting their lip. Like they're always biting their lip. I'm like, I bite my lip. I'm chewing my lip if I bite my lip. I don't just I don't know. I don't get that. It comes up a lot.
Yeah.
She bit her lip.
It's
Okay.
kind of a meme. Yeah, yeah,
I
she's
don't,
just
I
gnawing
don't.
at it.
I
Yeah,
chew
no,
the
I can see
inside of my
that.
lip. I'll do that, but that doesn't sound cute.
Yeah,
So
yeah, maybe that's the difference.
I don't know. Anyways,
Oh
so
God.
I don't have a lot of good advice, but yeah, I think reading it out loud, not you know, especially with the dialogue, I think that would be helpful. But
Yeah, I'm definitely needing to work extra time into my process to do that. I actually had that tip from authors a good decade ago, from editors, to literally sit down with your manuscript when you think you've got it and
mhm.
read it out loud because you would pick stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm sure you do, but now I understand why. Because now I think you poor thing having to try and make that sound casual 15 times in two chapters. But anyway, um, do you tell people like because publishing books, romance in particular, very unique area of life to be in, just like if you're out in the world. Do people know what you do? Like, do you talk, if you're at a party with people you don't know, um, what do you find is their response when you tell them, well, I narrate audiobooks? Do they automatically go, oh, do you do the smutty ones? Like, you know what I mean? Because that's what I get a lot as an author. As soon as I mention
True,
romance,
yeah.
it's like, what kind of romance? You know what I mean? So do you hit
Well,
that? Yes. Well, let me send you a recording. Do you hit that? And I'm curious, do you get different responses from different people? Like, are there people that I can be guilty of being like, oh, I write romance, which I shouldn't be because I love what I do, but there's
yeah.
an uneasiness sometimes about how people might respond to that. Have you hit that stuff?
Um, I think most people know because I also do voice work too, so I do voiceover and audiobook narration. And I most people are just excited about it and like, oh, what is that like? And whatever. So it's always been I've always had a positive response to it. Sometimes I just decide not to mention it if I'm like, not in a place where I want to have a whole side conversation about
Yeah.
audiobook narration. It's not the right
The
time or
nitty
place,
gritty.
right? Yeah. So, and I don't mind talking about the romance part. Yeah, I'll tell them. But I don't always say, "Oh, and my pseudonym is Marcella Black. You should
Yeah.
check it out." Like, because it's not for everyone, right?
Yeah.
If they ask me, I'm like, "Yeah, my pseudonym is Marcella Black, and look to see what you like." I don't
Read
know,
the trigger warnings.
because there's all kinds, like so. But I mean, we're all adults. You can be like, "Yeah, that's not for me. Yeah, that's for me," and um, I, yeah,
I
I
have
think most people are pretty res respond well to that,
okay.
and it's a fun job to have.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Definitely interesting for people. This is the question has just occurred to me. And I think not, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. As an author, you are encouraged to stay in a lane, right? Because you just
Mhm.
mentioned Marcella Black, lots of different things on there.
Right.
Is there a sense for what you do that you need to stay in a lane? Like this is working well for you, we're getting lots of jobs, so you should be
Mhm.
focusing on this? Or is there a lot more flexibility for you?
Yeah. Well, there's, different schools of thought on that. I've had mentors that say, get really strong in one lane so
Mm,
that, that you're known for this, and then you can start branching out and do this and the other. That kind of hasn't worked for me. I've gotten all kinds of work. I've gotten nonfiction, and like I said, my YA that I adore, the kids, and even in romance, I adore rom-com. I love
mhm.
doing the funny stuff, and I also, some of the dark romance I've done, and I've done all kinds. I feel like at this point, I I'd like, I'll do stuff that comes in and they'll ask me if you can do it. And, I'll do stuff. I would like to get to a point, and I'm kind of going in that direction where I kind of want to guide my career
Mm,
where I want to go. And I don't feel like I'm quite there yet. I'm kind of on that track, you know. But I really enjoy the surprises. I
mm,
really enjoy, hey, I did this book last year called The Portrait of a Feminist, and it just came to me, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's a nonfiction, bunch of essays, and I was like, yes, I love this, and I probably, I don't know, if I would only do romance, I would have not missed that opportunity, right?
right. Yep.
So I truly like doing a variety of things, and like my schedule this past month was like I did one breaking out of beginner Spanish, and then I did my YA, and then I did another mafia romance, and I like the switching it up. There was a time where I was doing all kinds of a certain thing, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm kind of done with this,
Mm,
you
yep.
know. Um, but yeah,
No,
what was the
that's good.
question?
No, that is that
What was the
I
question?
you're answering
I
your
went.
I feel the same way. I write multiple genres because I love everything that I write, but when you do the same type of story, if it's, fantasy, then it's heavy world building, or dark romance has to be fairly heavy content. So yeah, I've always sort of bucked the advice that is given to authors to find your genre and stick.
That's
And
interesting.
it means that you build an audience more slowly, but I also think that means that you build an audience that's coming for you. They're not just coming for a book,
Mm-hmm.
because they trust you and they start. So I say, people come to me for the emotional story, and you're going to get that emotional experience regardless of what genre we're in. But it does, it affects, it hadn't actually occurred to me that the same might be true for what you're doing. So I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I
Do
think
you ever
that's
get the
interesting.
chance? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think it's interesting that that happens to authors too, that they give similar advice
Oh,
to authors too.
it's
That's interesting.
literally advised. It's literally like you pick,
Mhm.
you're going to be this kind of author and you just stay there. And some people want that,
Right.
some people, that's all they want to do. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you go for it. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
We'll see if it works out in the long run. But do you ever get a chance to, like, have you ever gone to conferences or anything and met readers, listeners?
I I have not. I've yet to do that. It is on my wish list. Like if we have a wish list, I would love to do that. I just these conferences, you have to like plan them like a
A
year and a half
lot.
ahead.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
like,
know.
"Oh, I wish I would have signed up for that a year and a half ago."
Yeah, exactly. That's
I
my
just
struggle as
I
well.
just organization is my downfall. So, if I could get it together and
We're
maybe
like kindred
what's a year and a
spirits.
half from now? To 2027?
Yeah, I
2020.
know. I know,
Maybe I'll
right?
look at the conferences for 2028.
Yeah,
I don't
need
know.
to do
It's been tricky. I would love to go, and I have gone. I did go to one as kind of like just to go see check it out and see what
that.
it is.
Mhm.
And I talked to some of my fellow narrators that were there, and we had, it was really nice. Talked to some authors there as well. So I have gone, but not as presenting or anything like that,
Right.
which, in the future I would love to do. I just haven't gotten it together to do that.
No, that's fair enough. I also didn't know you had to plan that far in advance. This is naive of me, but anyway, because the reason I asked, I was curious whether you'd had either meaningful or or tricky maybe interactions with listeners, but maybe that hasn't really been in your sphere. Have you ever had either very very nice or very difficult interactions with authors?
I've only ever had wonderful interactions with authors, to be
That's
honest.
awesome.
I can't think of I can't think of any negative interactions. And I have to say, I just, like I told you, I think it's the ultimate compliment when an author says, I appreciate what you did with my
Mm.
characters, or I really loved the portrayal of the characters you did. I just that you guys take the time to let us know that you appreciate it is nice. And the feedback is great because honestly, we're here. We're doing the best we can. We think we're doing great. We're like, this sounds great. Feels great. But, we don't, it's like we're doing it, we're judging it, we're sending it, when we work with indie authors, editing it or sending off to some editors. But um, the feedback is not, even when we send it into casting, we don't get back, that was great. Good job.
Right.
Nothing. So you don't know. You're like,
Oh, so
did it
publishers
land?
don't give you feedback?
I've had a few say, oh, these are great or something like that, but it's not common. It's not like
They're not giving you notes.
not to their fault or anything. I mean, they have a million things to do, so it's not like they can listen to everything and send feedback. But what I'm saying is, we get limited feedback as narrators
Mm,
sometimes, and that is really helpful to know. Oh, we're on the right track, or that works, or even that didn't work. If it doesn't, because reviews are great, but reviews can just be all over the place.
yeah.
And I take the good with the bad, a grain of
Yeah.
salt, because a lot of times it's more about the reviewer than about
Yes.
than about
100%.
so. But getting honest feedback, especially from someone that knows the book, knows where is is really helpful and wonderful.
Good. Well, see,
Well,
authors, if you're listening to this, you heard it here first. Go and tell your narrators what a great job they're doing. That would
yes.
be really hard. I mean, we sit very solitary in the process, but we get a lot of feedback after the process is done. When
Wow.
it's too late to do anything about it,
Yeah.
but I hadn't thought about basically for in you, it sounds like in your situation, no news is good news. As
A
long as
lot of
people
times,
continue to
yes.
hire you, you
Yeah.
must be
I
doing
mean,
okay.
that's exactly right. If I get hired again, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great. They loved it.
Yeah. It was awesome. I'm taking 5 stars.
Nailed it.
Well, I'm very aware that you have to get going to pick up kids and stuff. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you wish you were asked about, or things about, because readers, like I say, they're really interested in the behind the scenes. Is there any part of your job that feels like people just don't understand that this is what we do, or that this is a part of the process for us?
Um, Nothing really occurs to me, but um, you should know that I have a lot of fun times in this booth. Like I will be narrating something and then something random comes out and I'm sitting here laughing to myself. I'm like, or something makes me laugh, or we'll be here and you're crying when you hear it, but I was crying right after I narrated it. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of human stuff happening behind the scenes. Sometimes I'll walk around in my house and, or oh, sometimes I'll be out in the real world, narrator in the real world, and I'll hear someone talking, and I'm like, oh, did you hear that? I'll tell my kids, did you hear that? Did you hear how she's talking? Did you hear her accent? And I'll go, voice memo. Okay, and then I'll just imitate exactly how they were talking, the intonation or whatever it is. And I'm like, this would be great for Brittany or whatever, whatever's the
Yep.
name. And so I will oftentimes or get back in my car. I'm like, oh, that was a good, the way they paused or the way they stuttered. I don't know what, but yeah, I'll randomly voice memo or record some things that I hear. So I'll be like, oh, next time I have anyways,
That's awesome.
I
They
don't know if
call
that.
authors magpies. We pick, because I do the same thing, but it's all internal, right? I'm
Uh-huh.
watching somebody's body language or how they interacted in a certain scenario, or a funny event that you get to see happen, at the store or whatever. Like I do the same thing. They call it I heard it. Yeah, authors are magpies. We pick up the shiny parts of life, and it doesn't mean that it's all good stuff. It means that you're like have these little treasures that seem odd to everybody else, but for you, they serve a purpose. Anyway, so
Yeah.
it's cool to hear that you do the same thing.
So y'all do the same
I'm
thing.
not as weird as I thought.
Mine is sounds, and yours
Yeah.
is like
Mine is like
scenarios.
body language, or like a way, or actually even more so, I have to say, I'm mentally cataloging my own reaction to something. So some guy in the store is intimidating and stands too close. And my brain switches into, okay, what sensations am I? Do you know what I mean? Like I should be paying attention to what's happening, but my brain's going, this is great sensory detail, and you need to,
Wait, hold on,
yeah,
stay right
just
there, stay
don't
right
kill me
there.
right now. I just
Keep
need to make a
looming,
notes about the type of vibration I'm feeling in my ribs. You know, it's like that.
keep looming, keep looming. Hold on,
Yeah.
not quite finished.
Keep blooming. I need a t-shirt for that one. I'll wear it whenever I go to the bank or whatever. Please loom. Allow me to make notes
Please
while you
keep
do.
looming. I'm recording everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I did used to have a shirt that said, "Don't piss me off. I'll put you in my book and kill you."
Oh,
Because I
nice.
thought it was really funny, but the one
That is
time I
funny.
wore it, people thought I was serious, and I was like, okay, so that didn't land.
Oh,
Well,
well,
when
okay.
people ask you those sort of half laughing, nervous questions, I went, I don't want everybody in my life thinking that I'm just, garnering book content from them. But yeah, so it's in my drawer now. I don't wear it, but I thought it was really funny.
That's funny.
Anyway,
That's
I
funny.
want
I
to
get it. I get it.
yes. Well, and that's what I mean. These moments are so cool because you don't realize that creatively there's a correlation, in the process. Like that's cool for me. That's fun to hear. I'm not as weird as I thought. Um, It's been really, really awesome talking to you, and I'm really glad that I got the chance to do it. Um, I think I told you when I spoke to Troy, he's eager that we can do like a roundtable for the actual audiobook release, and I think that would be a lot of fun. So you're going
Nice.
to hear from me again.
Yay.
But yeah, if you're listening to this, friends, please go. Let me say, Diana Bustelo.
Yeah.
Diana Bustelo. I'm
Yep.
not very good. I'm trying to
It's perfect.
get
Perfect.
Diana's name correct. So please, if there's any error, it's mine. Um, yeah, we will make sure. And Marcella Black. Those are your two names. And if anybody wants to see
Thanks.
what else you've done, they can look them both up. So the Marcella Black is purely romance. Is that right? It's purely
It's
the
purely romance. Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully I'll have a website one of these days.
well, you have some kind of website because I went on it. I got a picture
That's
from it. Let me see if you're like, wait,
I'm like, oh,
it's
that was future me.
I'll send it to you.
Future me did the website and they did a great job. Thank you.
It's awesome. You're like, who did this? I will email it to you when I get off of here. Um,
Okay.
thank you very much for your time. And thank
Thank
you
you,
for being
Amy. This has
willing
been
to do
so
this.
fun.
And if there's ever another time you feel like a chat, let me know because I just find this fun. I find it fun to talk to anybody who's in publishing. So we will do this again soon.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Amy.
you.
This has been great.
Yeah, me too. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.